morning and welcome to Citizen Extra. I am Ann Kiguta. We are taking you around the country and indeed around the world where news is happening. Today, 2 people have now been confirmed dead following the Monday night 8-story building collapse in Kware Pipeline Estate. This is according to the National Disaster Management Unit, which says one of the casualties is a woman who was rescued from the rubble yesterday evening but succumbed to her injuries. Rescue efforts for those who are trapped are still ongoing. Well, President Uhuru Kenyatta today leads the Jubilee Party Brigade on a whistle-stop tour of Busia County. The president and his team are expected to be in Port Victoria, Ababu Munamwamba's backyard, to pitch for his re-election. Busia is predominantly an opposition zone. And the National Super Alliances camp will see affiliate party Amani National Congress expected to launch its manifesto at the party headquarters this morning. The NASA principals led by Raila Odinga are expected at this feat as they prepare for their 3-day campaign tour of Kajiado, Tharaka Nithi and Meru counties on Thursday, Friday and Saturday. And further afield now, firefighters battled a massive fire in a 27th-floor high-rise apartment building in West London for several hours on Wednesday. London's Metropolitan Police said a number of people were being treated for a range of injuries but did not provide more specifics. London Mayor Sadiq Khan said on Twitter that a major incident had been declared. Flames and smoke were still shooting from the windows of the Grenfell Tower in North Kensington for more than 4 hours after the blaze started at around 1 a.m. London time. It is still not clear if there were residents trapped, but people at the scene spoke of not being able to reach friends and family who had been inside. And those are the stories that are happening this morning in Kenya and around the world. We are going to, of course, be catching up with a bit of more news here in Nairobi. IEBC is on its 3rd day of a national elections conference. Our reporter Francis Gashuri is standing by. He'll be telling us what the polls body will be talking about today. And also, Wiper Party's Machakos gubernatorial hopeful Wavinya Ndeti will be at the law courts today. We're expecting a ruling on her candidature. You will recall that last Thursday it was nullified by an IEBC tribunal who claimed that she failed to resign from her party, Chamacha CCU, in time in order to join Wiper, and therefore was seen to be a member of 2 parties. We're expecting a ruling on this matter that, of course, has threatened to see the Wiper Party not have a gubernatorial candidate in the Machakos race. And later we'll be speaking to our John Wanyama. He's standing by live for us in Eldoret. He'll be giving us a wrap of the day in politics. So a lot lined up for you today, but we are also, of course, keeping our eyes peeled on other stories that are making headlines today. You will, of course, note that it is the 10th day of the nurses' strike that has paralyzed operations across various hospitals around the country. And joining me now in studio, Javas Bigambo, who is a governance analyst, and Joseph Ngwasi, who's the chair of the Kenyan National Union of Nurses. And good morning to you both. I want to begin with you, Joseph, as this strike enters Day 10. Where are we now?
Okay, thank you, Anne. The strike has entered Day 10, and it is unfortunate that since this strike started, all the arms of government have run away from the problem, because up to now we have not been invited for any meeting to address this crisis. This is an indication that the government is not keen on providing health services to Kenyans. The government is not keen to taking care of the health sector, and it's unfortunate because this strike has not just started out of the blues. Nurses have given a strike notice. Nurses have been negotiating with the government from March, actually from December, when we suspended the strike, and up to now we are discussing about the same problem. It's unfortunate, and we are calling upon the President and the Council of Governors and the SRC to come immediately and address these issues, because Kenyans have rights to get health care services from the health workers.
So you're saying there have been no talks so far. Are you saying that even informally, none of the various institutions that you've referred to have reached out to you in any way?
None has so far reached us, because we have been expecting, we understand that COG was meeting yesterday. We understand that the County Public Service Boards will meet tomorrow. But this is a serious problem that is supposed to have been addressed as early as yesterday. Because if we have commitment from the government, we could not be where we are right now. Remember, this is a problem that has been postponed back from 2014, when nurses had a CBA which was thrown away. Nurses patiently waited and agreed to negotiate another CBA with the county governments and both levels of government. What happened? We have discussed the document. When it comes now to signing the document, the government now makes a U-turn and tells us now we have to renegotiate again. The position of the union is that we are ready to renegotiate only on the date that we will sign this document. That is the only thing that the union is asking for. And I don't think it is that hard for the government, which was properly in talks with the relevant bodies, to come and sign a collective bargaining agreement, and that is will be back on duty immediately. All
right. So the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Public Service, neither one of these national government offices have been in contact with you at all?
No.
Okay.
Not a single body has approached the union to see how to address the issue. In fact, it is just COTU which has come, because we are affiliate member to COTU. It is only COTU which has come and expressed interest, because they can see that nurses are being taken left, right. That is why I think the government is silent. Okay. That is why up to now we've not had a single word from Dr. Mailu, because he has been properly briefed and he realizes that nurses are on the right side, having negotiated a CBA and concluded it in goodwill. That is why I think the government is silent, because we have done our part and we have been patient enough.
SRC says that it was not part of the negotiations in as far as your CBA is concerned. Is that true?
SRC is not supposed to have been part of the CBA. We don't negotiate with SRC. SRC is on record to have said that they advised the negotiators from the government, because we are not answerable to SRC. And if the SRC advised the County Public Service Boards, advised the Council of Governors, then how comes that this document that we negotiated from these competent people from the government, what happened to these figures that were agreed upon by both parties, that now when it comes to signing, this is a time when the government is realizing that we cannot be in a position to fund or to implement this document. Okay. That's why we are saying nurses are not being taken serious, because if at all the government was serious, then we are not supposed to be where we are. The Constitution is very clear, Article 230 and Article 230, on the roles of the SRC. Section 59, subsection J, gives the board also mandate to advise the SRC on salaries and remunerations of the county public employees. Therefore, these negotiations were not being done, were done under all those laws, and SRC having advised the county government and the national government, that is the negotiators. Therefore, we don't have to go back again and start saying that we are going to negotiate what has already been concluded.
All right.
We are calling upon the government now to come clear
where do you lay the blame for this strike exactly? Is it with the executive, with the national government? Is it with governors? Is it with SRC? Who do you blame for this stalemate?
I think the entire government system is to blame, because if the COG have failed to forward or rather to commit themselves on what we discussed with them, we should have seen even the president, the executive, coming in, chip in and try to bring this matter into conclusion, because the union is very clear on what they are agitating for. We negotiated a document. We concluded the document. Nobody was holding a gun when we were doing negotiations. We were doing negotiations in a very good atmosphere. Then, does it mean that nurses are not important in this country? Because if they are indeed important as in the government, we are supposed to see the government working very hard towards according nurses their rights, and nurses are very, very, very much ready to soften their stance by going back with assigned documents.
All right. Let me bring in Javas Bigambo, who's our governance expert this morning, and Michael Agwanda, our political analyst. And Michael, good morning to you. I'll start with you to the extent that, you know, what we are hearing from the nurses union is that they're not being listened to, they're not being taken seriously. And of course, you know that with the timing of the strike, the point was to really leverage on that on any political capital that they may gain, you know, by being able to push either sides, possibly even make this a campaign issue, raise the stakes so much at an electioneering period that they would get what they want. Having said that, is that working out well for them?
Good morning, viewers. It is quite unfortunate with nurses on the street today. I'm also knowing that there are hospitals that are not being managed well because nurses are not there, that the activities of the hospitals are definitely not going on well. There's just much that the doctors can do and the support staff can do. But nurses run the hospitals. Nurses cares for the patients. Nurses addresses the emergencies that comes into the hospital. What we are seeing today is a stalemate because we are into the 9th day of the strike of nurses, and the government has not come out to give the way forward. We are looking at SRC, we are looking at Ministry of Labor, we are looking at Ministry of Health, we are also looking at the Council of Governors, and all these people are supposed to sit together and champion the way forward for the nurses.
To my question, have they been unable to leverage on the political capital that they would have been able to push for at a time of electioneering period? You remember this has been the mainstay, if you like, of public servants since the 90s. You know, when it comes near to election time, that is really the time to push through for what they want, knowing that, you know, once the election is done in a cycle of five begins, that they are hardly to get the ears of elected officials. So is it working out well for them?
This is not working out for them, and you know that nurses have had these issues and the doctors have also had these issues for a while now. The politicians are definitely not listening to nurses, and they're not ready just to have the nurses go to work and give the nurses what they're supposed to do, which is their detrimental at this particular time, because all the politicians from both aisles of the divides are looking for votes. And I can tell you that this nurses, he might just be one nurse, but he has a spouse, he has children, he has relatives that are depending on them, and if they are suffering out there, most likely the people that are looking for votes from them are not going to get the votes. As much as, you know, after that we also need to realize that besides the fact that they're offering very fundamental services in our hospitals, they are also voters. and if they are voters, they also must be treated very carefully. It is a practice in this country that sometimes the politicians don't hear about the professionals, they don't hear about so much that is happening in our society until that time that there is election. And you've seen what is happening in the country now, the president going around and fulfilling some of the promises that have not been fulfilled for many, many years, some for over 10 years. An example is in Kisi, where the president went and gave over 800 million for the IDPs. Maybe the nurses are thinking this could be the right time, but I really don't think they're doing this because they want to leverage on the political moment. They are actually doing this because there's been a process that has not been implemented. There's been a CBA that was signed, but it's not being implemented. There are some salary increment that were agreed upon, but they're not being implemented. I think nurses are just hitting the wall every place they go to, and the politicians really don't care about it, which is quite unfortunate.
Jarvis, why do you think none of these key officers has responded to nurses so far? Is it that they're not taken seriously?
I would reject that hypothesis that they're not being taken seriously. And of course, while it's unfortunate that this strike is coming at the sunset of the first cycle of devolution since 2013, and appreciating too that, and of course diametrically opposed to some views that were expressed here by the voice of the nurses, the issue at hand is not a challenge of legislation, and the issue at hand as well is not a challenge in matters policy, much as policy have the policy issues have got a couple of gaps, etc., that may need some sharper focus. But I think that there is need for enhanced partners dialogue when it comes to handling challenges in the health sector. Appreciating too that health is a devolved function, and it is the absence of that appreciation that would make maybe somebody indicate that or blame the national government fully, much as the national government has got a role to play, the Ministry of Health to that a great extent. But what is crucial here is the critical role of the Council of Governors. Now, when a discussion has ensued here about the place of the executive, when we talk about executive, we should know that, of course, noting Article 6 of Article 1 and 2 of the Constitution, executive is in two levels. There is executive at the national level, executive at the county level. Now, when you talk about the Council of Governors and the place of governors in this whole thing, governors as executive at the county level are involved in this. Now, it is interesting that nurses are heaping blame entirely on government, while of course nurses themselves do not have clean hands in this, especially when you look at the ethical, dynamical issues that have come to the fore since the commencement of this strike. When, for example, at the coast and other places where we saw patients being driven out of hospitals because of the demands of the nurses, etc. But I think the proper thing to do at a moment such as this, forgetting the politics and looking or casting or training our eyes on how functional devolved government or the evolution of health services needs to work, the Council of Governors needs to bring the nurses to the table of discussion. It also needs to see how the SRC gets to play an advisory role to this. And of course SRC raised a challenge to do with how unsustainable the quest and this 40 billion shilling demand is. Yeah, but Jarvis, my question was simply, if nurses were being taken seriously, then we should have seen them called to a meeting by now. It is day 10. Or do you think it's still early days? I wouldn't say it's in the early days, and it's not a question of failure to take nurses seriously. I think here the challenge is each side sticking firmly to their guns and failing to see the necessity of all of them yielding ground to come to the negotiation table with, I think, more clearer hands and minds, with a willingness to end this stalemate. Okay, it's grandstanding in your opinion. Sure. All right, Joseph, let me ask you this. We've seen from the Council of Governors issue a statement, and what they have said is that they are blaming Parliament
in a roundabout way for this particular strike, saying that Parliament disregarded proposals on the Division of Revenue Bill of 2017 and instead allocated them, or rather reverted back to the Division of Revenue Bill of 2017, allocating them 291 billion shillings, which does not factor in any pay increments, be it for yourselves as nurses or even for doctors, and in that way Parliament has a hand in your current woes. Do you think that really at the end of the day, because this is a money issue, that Parliament is to blame because they have not allocated the requisite resources that you require and that you're asking for in your CBA?
I think the Council of Governors, in other words, the counties are just looking for excuses to run away from their responsibility, because these structured negotiations were taking place when negotiators from both sides and all those informations of what is required for a CBA to be negotiated and implemented. I would like to ask the government a very simple question. They are talking about money. When they have not signed the CBA that is going to be implemented, where do we start? They are supposed to have signed the CBA, the nurses go back, then we now could be discussing about implementation of the CBA. Now when they start bringing figures, when they have not even signed the CBA, are they indicating that what was discussed, I mean, we wasted time to do these discussions? Because I would like to make it clear also, the Council of Governors and invited signatories from various counties to come and sign the CBA on 11th of May. That was never done. We convened our officials to Nairobi only to realize that nobody had come, no signatory had come to append their signatures on the negotiating document. We patiently postponed that date to 2nd of June. Now, in this letter of 9th of May, which was inviting the signatories to come and sign the CBA, what is this that the county government was coming to sign that they have realized all of a sudden that it was not concluded?
But having, and I understand what you're saying, it does appear duplicitous, but having said that though, even if they sign, you're going to need, that money, that expenditure can only be approved by Parliament. And now that Parliament has not done so, it goes on break tomorrow. Realistically, do you believe that you're going to see, your request will see the light of day? Will this have to be a matter that goes before the 12th Parliament?
If the government takes the health sector serious, they are supposed to ensure that health workers are accorded their rights. Because this CBA, we did not start negotiating a CBA yesterday. This is a process that started in December. Why is it now that the issues of monetary issues are being raised now when this process started back in December? That's why we are asking, are we really being taken serious by the government?
All right, let's take a short break on this conversation. We'll be back to it a little later as we look at day 10 of the ongoing nurses strike. But before we do that, we will catch up with a bit of more news. And as we mentioned earlier, IEBC is on its 3rd day of a national elections conference. Our reporter Francis Gashuri is standing by there and brings us more from this location. Gashuri, good morning, and what can we expect on day 3 of this meeting?
Thank you very much, and good morning to you, Ann Kiguta. The theme of the National Elections Conference here at KICC remains working together toward a credible and peaceful general election 2017. It's the last day of the 3-day conference, and after the heated session yesterday, where serious allegations were made on the question of procurement of ballot papers, the allegations that were made by former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who is also the NASA presidential contender, and the response is coming from the IEBC defending their decision to award the 2.5 billion shillings tender to Al Ghurair of Dubai. The matter now that is being discussed today is the question of security insofar as the general election is concerned. Pundits have said that the 2017 general election will be one of the most hotly contested in Kenya's electoral history, and so security will be paramount, bearing in mind that there are about more than 40,000 polling stations that will require sufficient security to ensure that people who turn up to vote on the 8th of August will be able to do so in a secure and safe manner. And so Inspector General of Police Joseph Boynet is among those who will be making presentations this morning.
All right, we apologize. We seem to have lost the sound there with Francis Gashuri. We're going to try and catch up with him shortly. But as you heard, he's at IEBC's Day 3 of the National Elections Conference today, focusing on credible and peaceful elections and focusing on security in particular. Let me come to my panel on that quickly as we try to get the link back with Gashuri. Let me begin with you. Michael, do you have any security concerns regarding this election? You will, of course, remember that in the run-up to party primaries, we saw a lot of ugly scenes. By and large, the climate thereafter has been peaceful. Are there any concerns in terms of law enforcement's ability to safeguard this poll?
IBC is preparing itself to conduct the August election, and everybody is waiting. They're waiting for a credible election, and a credible election will not also take place without putting the security apparatus in place. Remember, it is the policeman that escorts the ballot papers. It is the policeman that escorts the returning officers and protects the place where the announcement will be made. It is the policeman that will determine whether a place is having chaos or not. In most cases, ability to make sure that, even where places where there seem to be chaos, they will be able to calm them down. But I can tell you that Kenya has enough police forces, police service today. I think we are even at this particular moment, Kenya is ready to be one of the best in terms of numbers. The UN requires about one policeman to about 5,000 people. But I think we are doing almost one policeman to about 4,800 people, which means that we have enough security in this country. The question that everybody will be asking is whether they will be meddling into the affairs of the electoral process, or they will be there for us to keep peace and to ensure that no rigging is taking place and any malpractices takes place during the electioneering time. I believe that when all these police officers and the GSU or the APs or even the prisons that they use quite often in electioneering time, when all of them will be deployed where they're supposed to be with firm instruction not to interfere with the election in any way, we will have a very peaceful election, and I think we'll have enough security to handle this process.
All right, let's return now to the IEBC's meet at the KICC, where the National Cohesion and Integration Commission's boss, Francis Ole Kaparo, is addressing participants.
And hopefully we don't need to use the law. Naomba kuambieni ndugu zangu, si mapenzi yangu wakati yeyote kumshitaki mtu yeyote. Si mapenzi yangu. Mimi sijauliza kazi ya polisi maisha yangu. Kwa hivyo msinilazimu. Ningependa mwachana na hii mambo ambayo yanaweza kuleta taabu. Lakini kwa sababu hamna masikio, tutajitayarisha na tutajihami. Na napenda kuwaelezeni wakorofi, hamna nafasi, hamna ruhusa ya kusumbua Wakenya. Naambiwa nimezungumza zaidi. Unajua saa nyingine nikizungumza zaidi pengine huyu bwana ni mkorofi pia. Bani anajua pengine inamuuma. Lakini wakorofi mpaka watusikie. Na kuna wakorofi kila mahali, hata ndani yenu mna wakorofi. Kwa mikutano ya kisiasa kuna wakorofi. Lakini wale wabaya zaidi ni wale wako social media. Hawa ndio wabaya zaidi kuliko kila kitu. Kila asubuhi naamka mimi kwa ile simu yangu naona uchochezi ambayo haina comparison. A certain tribe must be multiplied by 0. Na matusi mengine yote. Pamoja na Communication Authority of Kenya, pamoja na Directorate of CID, pamoja na good people within the social and regular media, we are addressing this as well. But just see the difficulty. Ingine tunaangalia mtu ametangaza mambo yaweza kuvunja Kenya hii. Ukimtafuta huyu jamaa, kwanza shida ni kujua ni nani. Ukishajua ni nani, shida ako wapi. Wengine tunawatafuta, tunaona broadcast hiyo wanafanya California ama Canada ama the Netherlands, kwa sababu kuna watu kama hao. Kwa hivyo tuko na shida hiyo pia. Lakini lazima tungengana nao. Na kungengana nao tutafanya hivyo. Pia lazima tuzungumze na Wakenya. Ndugu yangu wa Kenya, we must talk to you. We must reach out to you. That it is not healthy for you to hate your brother Kenyan. They are there because God said they will be there. Na kama Mungu amesema ndugu yako Mluo na wewe ni Mkikuyu ama Mmasai, kama Mungu amesema kutakuwa na Waluo, wewe ni nani utasema hata kuweko? Upende usipende watakuweko, na tutahakikisha watakuweko. Na tunataka jeshi ya wananchi ya kusema hatutaki furugu Kenya. Wangapi wangetaka kuingia jeshi hiyo? Wangapi wangetaka kuingia jeshi? Haya, naona asante wale wameka. Na ni wangapi wakorofi hawataki? Inua mkono. Inueni mkono. You have a sacred duty to God, to your country, to yourself, to posterity, to ensure this country remains safe. I'll do what I can. But even if I can't, I will shout at the rooftops that we must stop destroying one another. And I hope Kenyans of goodwill will listen. And those who can't listen, we pray to God to open your hearts and take away the devil from you. Naomba ndugu zangu wa Kenya, msifikiri hii kazi ni yangu peke yangu. Msifikiri ni kazi ya bwana Tobiko. Msifikiri ni ya wako huyu. Kwanza huyu bwana wako, wale wezi wote wanaiba mali ya umma, wakienda kuwashukua mnaambia ni wezi wetu. Kwani ni ng'ombe? Jisaidieni. Naomba kutii sheria sasa. Kwa muda mrefu nilijulikana kwa story ya order. Naomba kuelezeni, a society without order is a society that is going to self-destruct. The absence of order means anarchy. So choose whether you want anarchy and therefore break every law, or you want peace and therefore obey every legal provision in our country. Thank you very much.
And that, of course, being the chair of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, Francis Ole Kaparo, speaking to participants at this third day of the IBC conference that is focusing on a credible and peaceful election. And we'll be joining Francis Gashuri, who's our reporter on the ground, very shortly. But you've heard Kaparo basically saying that, you know, there's only so much that NCIC can do. Those, Gashuri, are sentiments that will be taken with a pinch of salt from the public, who, of course, are expecting to see a body like NCIC take firm action, you know, present various cases to various investigating and prosecutorial bodies, to have politicians who have violated either the Leadership or Integrity Act or the Cohesion Act, etc., you know, prosecuted before court. And so his sentiments this morning seem to fall a little bit shy of very clear and, you know, decisive steps that they are in fact either have lined up certain, you know, politicians for further investigation and prosecution, etc. So it may be a little bit lackluster on the part of the Commission. What are your own thoughts in terms of the Commission's responsibility going into the election and what Kenyans require of them?
And it's a high-stakes general election in August. And truth be told, various public rallies have been characterized by speeches and utterances that have been made by politicians that border on hate speech and incitement to violence, while at the same time the politicians have a right to seek elected seats, appeal to their supporters for votes, and propagate their ideas. There's a very thin line between free speech and hate speech, and so NCIC has its work clearly cut out for it insofar as monitoring the politicians who out there are making statements that can incite violence or incitements that can lead to, you know, ethnic hatred and so on and so forth. NCIC has previously said that it has recruited hate speech monitors and even procured gadgets that can be used to record politicians who are making statements out there in public rallies. But remember, and so far since NCIC was created, since the Cohesion Act was enacted by Parliament, there has not been any successful prosecution on matters of hate speech. All the politicians who have been taken to court for making utterances that are inflammatory have been released in one way or another by the courts of law because of insufficient evidence or shoddy prosecution or, you know, lack of sufficient evidence to nail them. So basically NCIC has to work a little bit much better to ensure that out there the politicians who are inciting violence, making statements that can incite the public to turn against each other, especially in an election that is as competitive as the one that Kenyans are heading to in about 54 days, then NCIC has to really pull up its socks.
We are also expecting the Inspector General of Police to later be making a presentation there. He, of course, has benefited, one would say, in this particular dispensation, having, you know, those armored vehicles brought in, you know, in terms of giving the police service the kind of equipment that it needs to deal with any possible threats. We've also seen increased police numbers, etc. What do you believe the position of the IG will be this morning, and do they have all that it takes to ensure that this is a peaceful poll?
And every other time you've had leaders from across the political divide talk about credible and peaceful general election. That peaceful aspect is important, while IEBC will take care of the credibility issues by ensuring that the processes that lead to the general election, that is from the process prior, during and after the general election is taken care of. The peaceful aspect is twofold, that Kenyans out there will go to the polls and vote peacefully, and secondly that the country, the government particularly, and more so specifically the Inspector General of Police, will deploy his men and women out there to ensure that the more than 19 million registered voters who are expected to turn up in the August general election feel safe, feel secure to go to their respective polling stations and exercise their democratic right. And this is one of the general elections that will be very security intensive, and so the IG has to clearly map the areas that probably can be declared or can be looked at as hotspots, and ensure that he has deployed adequately in those areas, and also ensure that his security officers create that sense of confidence that people can be able to turn up and vote on the 8th of August. And so we expect the Inspector General of Police to come and give us an outline generally on how he intends to secure the 2017 general election. Remember, the number of police officers who have been recruited every year has increased, and so the numbers out there will deemed to be adequate to ensure that the more than 40,000 polling stations are clearly secured, and at the same time we will have security officers out there who will be patrolling the various areas, just to ensure that people are able to go and vote peacefully. And more importantly, once let's say for example the campaigns are on, 8 presidential candidates and more than 16,000 candidates who have been cleared by IEBC to contest for the more than 1,400 positions that will be up for grabs in the August general election, are also able to go out there and campaign peacefully in a secure manner. And at the same time, those who break various electoral laws are also apprehended and taken to court for action to be taken. And so that is one of the things that we expect the Inspector General of Police to come and give us a very general or a very cohesive and very elaborated plan on how he intends to ensure that the 2017 general election will be safe and secure.
All right, Francis, just before we wind up with you, we are also expecting this meet today to discuss the role of technology and media, and that sounds particularly broad. We have technology that will be employed by the Commission in terms of the the actual process of carrying out the election. We have technology with NCIC and other bodies, manning speech, if you like, and utterances around this period. And of course there's you and me doing our day-to-day stuff. So break down for us what the issues are in as far as the question of credibility and peace in the election is concerned with respect to the use of technology.
The panelists who are here who will be discussing matters of technology basically will be looking at the processes. Some of them are ongoing. For example, voter registration was done electronically just a short while ago. Up to last week, the registered voters were out there verifying their registration details using technology, and IEBC is expected to, or has tested for the first time, the technology that will be used to identify voters and also transmit results in the August general election. And so IEBC says it will continue to test this equipment, that is the integrated electoral management system, to ensure that it does not fail like it did in 2013. Remember, one of the points of discussion in 2013 was the abrupt failure of technology, leading to IEBC resorting to manual identification of voters and even transmission of results. And so at the heart of the electoral amendments that were done by the team that was headed by Senators Kiraitu Murungi and James Orengo in the bipartisan team, was to ensure that technology is tamper-proof and foolproof, and ensure that the people who turn up to vote are the only ones who are eligible to participate in the general election. That is, for example, the dead voters will be weeded out from the roll of voters, and secondly, to ensure that the technology does not fail. And remember there was also the very contentious clause that was made in the Elections Act, that is the amendment that was passed last year, to ensure that in case technology fails, then the complementary system can be used, that is the manual backup. And of course it brought a lot of issues. And so IEBC will have to convince the panelists here and the delegates who are attending this conference that technology will not fail or will not be made to fail as was claimed in 2013. And of course, and the question of the role of the media in the general election. Remember, in 2013, the media was criticized for allegedly taking sides in one way or another, and in 2007 the media was also castigated for allegedly fanning violence. And so it's a very delicate balance, just to ensure that the issues are brought out, various candidates can be able to sell their agenda, and eventually Kenyans are able to make that decision based on what they have heard from the various politicians, from the various political parties, from the various coalitions, insofar as what they intend to do is concerned. That delicate balancing act of ensuring that there is equity, there is fairness in the coverage leading to the general election in August.
Very much, Francis Kashuri reporting for us from the KICC, where IEBC is on its third day of this meet. Kashuri, thanks for your time. And that brings us to the top of the hour. I want to thank my guests who've been talking to me about the nurses' strike, and in particular, Joseph Ngwasi, the chair of the Kenyan National Union of Nurses. Unfortunately, we don't have time to return to this subject, but certainly we'll be keeping an eye on this strike that entered day 10 today. I'm staying with Michael Agwanda and Javas Bigambo. We'll be speaking a little later. In the next hour, of course, we're looking at the campaign trail. Of course, Jubilee has been on a tour of various parts of the country, particularly focusing in areas where it may be having trouble. And today, President Kenyatta, as we said, will be leading his brigade to a whistle-stop tour of Busia County. Our Jackie Maribe has been on the campaign trail. We're going to be speaking to her very shortly. That and much more lined up for you in our 2 of Citizen Extra. Stay with us.